What is up, family? You are listening to Living Beyond the Dream podcast, a podcast where we have practical conversations to take the dreams you have for your church and yourself and turn it into a reality. I'm joined again by my man, Tyler, and we have been excited, man, hearing the feedback and the love we've been getting, everybody listening week in and week out. Thank you. Can I just say thank you for subscribing, for listening, for sharing. You guys mean the world to us, and if this episode really blesses you, give that share, rate it, review it, like it. It really does help us get the reach out even farther. So if you could do that favor for me, it means the world. Tyler, what are we talking about this week?
So last week, we were talking about budgets. It was a very nuts and bolts topic.
Got to go there.
That's right. But this week, we're going to go back to some of the early beginnings, and we're going to go more leadership on this topic.
Come on.
We're going to be talking about monotony, the leadership killer.
Yeah. Yes.
The leadership killer. So, just to start off, shot out of the cannon, monotony summed up in 1 to 2 words. What is it?
Monotony is just basically tedious repetition, right?
Yeah.
When it's just doing the same things, but it gets to the point where it's almost becomes dull, bland. It's just going through the motions.
Yeah.
So it's this tedious repetition in your life.
Yeah. So I think I can pull the answer from what you just said, but maybe a little bit more in depth. Why do you think it's a leadership killer?
It's exactly that. When you're in this tedious repetition of life, your mind goes on this autopilot.
Yeah.
Right? You just kind of go through the motions. You're kind of just getting into that status quo mentality. And it's very easy when you're doing the same things week in and week out, because guess what? You have the same business week in and week out a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sometimes, whether that's whatever business you're in, you're a roofer, you're a plumber, right? Sometimes you can get into the things where you're working the office and the business week in and week out. Got to take the shingles off, got to get bids out, got to get the roofers out there, schedule it, quotes, blah, 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 blah. And the same thing happens with being in ministry, is the fact that we start seeing ourselves in this repetition. Sunday's always there.
Yeah.
So you got another service you got to prepare for. You got to book all the people that's going to serve that week. You got to make sure the lessons are there, sermons there, 4 more worship songs you got to do, transitions. Yeah. And what happens is you get in such a routine that you're not progressing, but then you start regressing because you're allowing the monotony of life to really drain you of something more, because you're letting the tedious repetition really put your mind on autopilot. And that's what happens to me. And it happens a lot of leaders and a lot of pastors. I find monotony in their life and schedule is killing the passion in their hearts and minds.
Yeah. How would you say you could tell if you were in a monotonous state?
Well, it's kind of what I just said, but are you losing passion and zeal? Are you kind of just waking up and going through motions?
Yeah.
Are you kind of realizing that days and weeks are blurring together and not a lot of change is happening?
Yeah.
Do you wake up and you're just not excited anymore about what you do or the things that are happening inside your organization? Those are all great indicators that you're missing something. And a lot of times it's because you're coasting and floating instead of really pushing through and progressing.
Yeah. This is a really broad question, but how would you advise getting out of a monotonous state?
Well, I think you need to be honest with yourself. And here's what happens with me a lot. As I really look at my life, and I have lulls in my life, right?
Yeah.
Not everything's going to be the most exciting, passionate thing in life. But what I've realized is if I stay in a season for too long, it becomes my new norm.
Yeah.
And so I have to realize when I'm in those moments, hey, I don't like the way I feel.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want to have passion. I want to have excitement. I want to wake up, and I want my team to be passionate and excited. And I know not everything's going to be the big event. Not every week is Easter. Not everything's going to be this big, huge production. But guess what? We can start adding some better rhythm to our life to do that. And there's several things you can do. One, learn. Learn something new.
Yeah.
Read books that excite you, that when you're reading them, all of a sudden you're going, man, I want to do that, or I want our church to look like that, or I want our organization to function like that, right?
Yeah.
Like things that are like, ooh, that's exciting, or a podcast or a testimony. Like learn. Another good way is to go experience what other people are doing. Sometimes all you're seeing is things through your lens of your organization, and what happens is everything looks the same.
Yeah.
Everything starts becoming just a different shade of beige to you because it's all you know. And then when you go to another organization that's vibrant or alive, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I love the way they're doing, or man, that's exciting, or seeing the way they do that looks excellent.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it gives you some fuel to your fire. Another thing you need to learn is taking breaks. I don't think a lot of leaders take enough time off.
Yeah.
And it's not bad to take time off.
Yeah.
It's not bad to disconnect and get away so that when you come back, you're excited to be back into what you are.
Yeah.
And you may say, well, I shouldn't need to be motivated. Listen to me, we all need to have a separation that allows us to realize how blessed we really are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you take for granted the very blessings and the good things that you have in your organization. And so you need to have a little change in your rhythm to get you back on track to being more passionate, get that zeal and excitement, and get innovation back inside of your heart and mind.
That's so good. Even taking that one step further, and when you do take a step back or go on vacation or something like that, we even talk about this at Bloom, and how there is no greater leadership check than going away and still seeing everything function just as good, if not better. You know, imagine the empowerment that you're giving to your leaders that are, able to step up, and it's awesome.
Well, it should make you so proud as a leader to realize that you have phenomenal leaders underneath you, and the organization doesn't fall apart because you're not there. And if the organization does fall apart when you're not there, you're not leading right.
Yeah, problem.
So there needs to be a check in your in yourself, because you are not empowering enough, and you don't have enough confidence people around. Like when we leave, there's not 1 ounce of fear when I go on vacation or I'm on a sabbatical that everything's going to work. I just know everybody's going to be fine. I know the transition's going to be fine. I know speaking's going to be fine. I don't ever even stress about that, because really, mine is speaking on a weekly basis. I don't handle any of that stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Because I've allowed our leaders just to run with things. They have ownership and all those things. And I know our people can speak because I hear them share the heart and word of God. So I know they're awesome. But I have this confidence with that. But when I'm most separated from everything, I get to look at things without a checklist and a to-do list every single week that distracts me.
Yeah.
And so when I'm stepping away, I'm allowed to dream about the future of our church without this tedious, monotonous day-to-day things I usually have to do. And it gives me a time to think about the health of our organization. Where do I want us going?
Yeah.
What are things we need to implement? How can we make some changes? It allows me to look at things without distractions, and allows me to come back with my guns blazing and a lot more drive in my step.
That's so good. So I want to talk about monotony and culture for a second. So let's say you realize that you're in a monotonous stage and you want to shake things up. How does that impact the culture? How do you do it in a way that it doesn't affect your culture? Or do you want it to affect your culture? So that might be a two-part question there.
Well, I think monotony will kill your culture, because monotony will suck the life out of your organization. It'll suck passion out, right? And then people become kind of just, they're not motivated anymore, right? If they go every week and everything's the same and nothing is feeling like there's life to it, they're going to start losing the energy to want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so what you need to realize is that passion is contagious, right? There's that quote that says, if I light myself on fire, people come and watch me burn, right? Because what happens is people want to see things that are on fire. They have life to it. And like I said, not every week needs to be Easter.
Yeah.
Not every week has to be this. But you should be excited about the things that you're doing and a part of. And so what you've got to learn is that monotony adds life to your culture, and it adds a lot of passion and movement to where you're going. And what did we say before, right? Your two most important things that you have as a leader is momentum and morale.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Monotony sucks the momentum, so you stand at a pause, and then when there is no movement in your organization, morale starts dipping.
Yeah.
So it is about that M's, right? It really adds those two things to it. So when you're looking at monotony, you need to start realizing that you are going to start duplicating yourself in your people around you.
Yeah.
So if you're waking up and you just don't have life or excitement, you have no innovation in you, and you're not moving forward, then guess what? Sooner or later, that's what your staff's going to start reflecting, and then that's what your volunteers are going to start reflecting, and that's where your church is going to start being. And that's why you see a lot of churches that were vibrant 10, 20, 30 years ago, and they were successful, built big buildings and had wonderful organizations, but then over time, they started going through the motions so much that now they just go through routine. They have sacred cows with traditions, and there's not a lot of life there. And it's because it's not one day everything just fell apart. It's that slowly they started losing passion and innovation. Slowly the monotony of the schedule started running in. Pay this bill, do this service, do this, to the point where over time it shifted the culture and they lost this excitement and passion of what we're doing and where we're going.
That's really good. You shared a couple best practices in regards to, if you're a leader and you realize you yourself are in a monotonous stage. How would you say, if you're leading a team and you realize that someone on your team is in a monotonous stage, or that department that they are leading is in, how would you coach them out of that?
Well, I would do several things. First off, I would let them realize how impactful they really are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in monotony, you forget what you're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you're doing great things, but you just don't see it. Does that make sense? Because you're so used to it, and it becomes your new normal, right? And sometimes you need to realize how blessed you really are in life. I think gratitude is the greatest ingredient to joy.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not joyful in life. It's because we're not reflecting on what we've actually have and being grateful for what we've been given and what we're doing. So I think one thing you need to do is bring some wins back into them and really celebrate what they're doing. And it's easy as a leader to take for granted our people and not celebrate them enough.
Yeah.
And I do that, right? It's because a lot of times, and I may be an affirmation person, and we're in the fact that I like affirmation, but I'm only really an affirmation person from my wife or the people that are really, really close to me.
Yeah.
General affirmation really doesn't do anything for me. And because general affirmation doesn't really do anything for me, sometimes I forget to give general affirmation to the people around me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because I'm so used to just not needing it, just going through the motions. And so I think that happens a lot as leaders. We need to realize our people need affirming.
Yeah.
So you need to recognize that and celebrate the wins with them. Secondly, what you need to really focus on and work on is getting them out and seeing something new. So what I do with a lot of things, I take my staff, every one of the department leads, I say, hey, pick a church that you want to go to, and we're going to go. And I actually take them as a couple, like me and my wife, and then them and then their spouse. We're going to go to the church they choose, and we're going to allow them to learn. And so what we do is worship pastor pick a church, right? Children's and youth pastors, right? Executive pastor pick things, and we go on a trip together, and we experience another church. We experience what they're doing, and we get to build some camaraderie because it's just us hanging out together, going out to eat, going, a road trip, and it allows them to experience it, allows them to realize I care enough about them to spend some time with them, and allows them to get a little disconnection and some fresh eyes.
Yeah.
It's a great way to build that inside of them, and they're taking something back to their team, right? Yeah. Conferences are another great thing, man. Like, take them to conferences, let them come back. You always come back from that conference high.
Oh, yeah.
It's always the best feeling. Now, with that conference high, you've got to have some follow-up, right? Yeah. So now that you have this conference high, now you're meeting with them and say, all right, now what's our plan? I want you to sit down and let's discuss where are we going next, right? Start putting some movement into them and allowing some expectations on their plate, because with that, it's going to cause them to have to get out of their rhythm and do new things.
Yeah.
With doing new things, you lose monotony because now you're in spontaneity, and that causes innovation, right? So allow some of that shift and rhythms inside of them to allow that. And maybe also tell them, try something new. Risk it. Yeah. I tell our children pastor, we're a church, a very successful church. We're a larger church, and God's blessed with all that. But I literally just sat down with our children's pastor talking about, maybe we need to change everything.
Shake it up.
Maybe we need to change the way we're doing some of the youth stuff. Maybe we need to change it. Like, we don't have to be safe. Yeah. We can take risks if we're taking risks for the betterment of what we're trying to do. If we want to make it better, take risks, right? Yeah. We don't have to be careful. If what we learned from another church, we brought it over and tried to try it, and it's not working in our culture, that's fine. Yeah. Find what fits our culture. Take risks, shift it up, change it up so that we can find what fits and works, and then we're going to test it and evaluate it every year, so that we don't just think what worked 5 years ago is going to continue to work. We're going to keep evolving and shifting, because health is always our litmus test. Yeah. Not production, not just checking a box. Health. Yeah. That's always a litmus test. Are we healthy? Are we growing? Because if we're not, we got to reevaluate.
That's so good. And we're actually going to kind of branch off of that health topic for next week. Next week, we're going to be diving into leading through the pain.
Yeah.
So if you're in a monotonous state and you find yourself, I feel like that can even bring yourself to like a darker place if you're in a monotony and you're not, hitting peaks or feeling like you're accomplishing things. And so we're really going to dive into leading through the pain next week.
Well, a lot of times with that monotony is because of some tragedy or failure, or you know what? When you hit monotony for long enough, you start plateauing.
Yeah.
You start regressing. And then in that, you start wondering, some people get to the point where like, why try?
Yeah.
Maybe I should just quit altogether. Instead of trying to shift things up or change things. Because I think we're so scared of change that sometimes we will allow it to feed. Like that fear of change fuels monotony. Right? It's like the fire to the flame, or the fuel to the flame that's allowing it to continue to grow. And you've got to understand change isn't bad.
Yeah.
And that change is hard, but change becomes the new normal over time. It's what we always talk about. And that sometimes it's okay to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you are a leader that cares enough about health in your organization. And that even means sometimes you got to scrap things. There's a lot of times I've tried things in our organization and they don't work.
Yeah.
And I've scrapped it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas I say, and I'm okay with saying, you know what, we're going to try this. If it don't work, we're going to change it up again.
Yeah.
But that's okay with me because we're trying to find what fits and grows and has health in our organization. And until you get to that place, and until you realize that change isn't bad, change is for good, you're going to always find yourself settling in the rut of monotony.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, it's going to kill your organization.
So good.
So, guys, I hope this week blessed you. I hope you learned and grew, and we're going to kill monotony and progress as an organization. If this was an episode that really blessed you, or you think you're thinking it, you're listening going, hey, I think this is for someone else. Share it, man. Let them know. Spread it on social media. Let's get the word out because we're trying to build healthy churches. We're trying to populate heaven and depopulate hell. This ain't about our church being the best. This is about the kingdom of God being the best and taking ground back from the devil. And we're going to grow life-giving churches, whether they're brand new or they're 50 years old. We are going to see God move. Amen. So, guys, can't wait for next week. Until next time, pray God's peace.